I've done it. I've completed my Pokedex in Legends of Arceus all the way through, perfect entries in every single one, and I've noticed something. The Pokedex isn't true. It's been lying to us from the very beginning, from Pokemon Red and Blue. It's been lying to us about the truth of Pokemon. I'll tell you why. Let me put it into perspective for you. So, just like in real world history, in Pokemon history, they haven't known everything about Pokemon, just like we did not know everything about animals our entire time. And honestly, we're still learning so much. We're finding new species. Just like in Pokemon, we are finding new species whenever we go to a new region. So what was I talking about where I said the Pokedex has been lying to us from the beginning? Let me read you something from a real world entry in a historical document about an animal and see if this kind of makes sense to you. If the bone from its shin is put beside gold, it attracts and draws it to itself by some inexplicable fascination. That is talking about a hawk. So a hawk's shin bone, if it's put next to gold, will itself become gold. We know that that's not true, but a historical document that just like cataloged about biological creatures, just the history, like information about them, like what was considered fact in real life, said that. We know that's not true anymore. Could that be what's happening with the Pokedex as well? I mean, we've seen it say all sorts of things. I mean, we see it say that Shellder attaches to the tail of Slowpoke to create Slowbro. And we're like, oh, that's well and good. The tail, though, changes. It's no longer looking like a Shellder. It doesn't look like two separate Pokemon. It becomes one Pokemon. But here's the Pokedex entry from Yellow. It lives lazily by the sea. If the Shellder on its tail comes off, it becomes a Slowpoke again. Okay, alright, well, how about the one from Gold? If the tail-biting Shellder is thrown off in a harsh battle, it reverts back to being an ordinary Slowpoke. So it wasn't just the original game. The next generation, they brought back the concept of a Shellder falling off the tail. And the Shellder becomes a Shellder again, and the Slowbro becomes a Slowpoke again. We've never seen de-evolution in Pokemon like that at all. So you're like, all right, well, those are early games. So Ultra Sun also says something similar. It says, spacing out is basically all it does. It turns back into Slowpoke if its tail, along with Shellder, breaks off. We do know that that Slowpoke tails are a delicacy, and we've had Team Rocket selling it, trying to sell it to us in games, and you can actually get it in other games and make curry with it. So there are Slowpoke tails. We know that they do break off. We don't see Slowbro tails. Maybe that's because when the tail falls off, the Shellder falls off, and we get Slowpoke tails. There are no Slowbro tails. It's not possible to have a Slowbro tail. So it's a Slowpoke tail. But, just like I said about the hawk, is this true? Is it just believed to be true? Did someone see something like this happen? I mean, it's cataloged time and time again in the Pokedex. Can it be wrong? Let's take a look at another Pokemon. Here's an entry, and it does say the name of the Pokemon in here. But let's take a look at this one. This one's from Emerald. It is rumored that a boy with psychic abilities suddenly transformed into Kadabra while he was assisting research into extrasensory powers. Alright, now what's interesting here is the it is rumored. So we have a it is rumored that a Pokemon was created from a human. Putting it is rumored is very weird in what I would consider a scientific document of the Pokedex. I mean, we do have professors putting this out, which granted, I don't know if professors have much schooling. We see assistants to professors become professors, but we never see anyone in school. They just become a professor after being an assistant to the professor. I don't even know if they have any schooling. I'm talking about Sophia from Sword and Shield. that she becomes a professor at the end, maybe without any schooling. So maybe the professorship actually isn't as scientific as we're thinking. Here's another one of Kadabra. This is from Fire Red. It happened one morning, a boy with extrasensory powers awoke in bed transformed into Kadabra. Okay, and then in Sun, a theory exists that this Pokemon was a young boy who couldn't control his psychic powers and ended up transformed into this Pokemon. So this is a theory exists. The one before just says it happened. And then the next one in Legends Arceus that I just completed, there are rumors that a child with mystical powers became a Kadabra. However, this remains unverified. I suspect that the spoon Kadabra holds enhances its brainwaves. This remains unverified. So why is it in this document? It seems like just adding it there is like, yes, flavor. I know that a lot of the entries in Pokedexes are more based on mythological or scientific or different things like that throughout time, and they're not, like, Pokemon is extreme. It doesn't exist in real life. But a person turning into a Kadabra, and it's rumored, a theory exists, there's rumors of, doesn't feel very true. So the fact that 3 of them says rumor, theory, rumor, but then the one in Fire Red just says it happened one morning. That changes it from we don't know, could have been, we're just reporting on what someone else said. All of a sudden it's putting it as fact that that happened. That's weird. So if we just took the Hawk's Gold Shinbone as fact, we would believe that. There's no reason we wouldn't believe that. A scientific document had it in it. We read it, we believe it. But that's not the case. There are many instances of this. It's not just Gen 1 Pokemon where this happens to. Magcargo heats up to a temperature in the Pokedex entries. The temperature is too high. It's like the surface of the sun. That existing on a Pokemon in the world would just instantly burn up and disintegrate anything within even a decent range of it. Let alone Pokemon trainers, Pokeballs would incinerate as it even gets close to Magcargo. You would never be able to even catch one. Makes no sense. Can't possibly be true. Yanmega, its Pokedex entry says that it is known to pick people up and fly. Yet it can't learn the move Fly, which allows it to pick people up and move them. Another falsehood in a Pokedex entry. It doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't be there. It makes the Pokedex show that it is not true. It's based on what people think and not what actually is happening. And then we talked about Kadabra, but Alakazam says his IQ is 5,000. That's kind of not possible. So the IQ scale is based on averages. So the scale is created so that 100 is considered the average person. 100 is average person. You can go to 0 and to 200 because every positive there's a negative. So 101 equates to 99. It's just 1 off of the average. So in order for it to be up to 5,000, that means that there's essentially a negative 4,900. That doesn't really make sense. Granted, IQ can just continue to increase, but that doesn't exist. That doesn't really happen. And 5,000? That's so many orders of magnitude greater that an Alakazam should just instantly know pretty much everything, be able to create, do, like, anything at all. I know that that's partly because a lot of times they equate psychic ability with intelligence. That's not the same. Not in this. They have mystics. They have key people in the towers with all the ghost Pokemon, psychic Pokemon. It does not make any sense. And really, the Pokedex is full of lies. How can we trust anything else in it when it shows itself to be wrong and easily fact-checkable? It makes it less true. Now, here's another thing about the Pokedex that seems a little weird. In Legends Arceus, which is probably the oldest time we see the first one of, if not the only, like the first generation or instances of a Pokedex. The Sinnoh region, essentially, or what becomes the Sinnoh region, this is the first Pokedex. You're helping create it. So what you are seeing goes into the Pokedex, right? Like you're catching a whole bunch of things. You're having a battle a lot. So you can see it behave, and that becomes its Pokedex entries, right? Well, then why is it there are rumors of a child with mystical powers that became Kadabra? You didn't see that. You didn't hear that. Why is that in there? It's almost like the Pokedex was already completed with information that's not correct. Is Professor Layton lying to us about what the Pokedex is for and what it does? Man, this is just more questions than answers for me. I'm pretty sure, though, that I can say with 99% accuracy, the Pokedex entries are not to be taken as fact. They are fake. They are an old version of how we did biological texts. Maybe in the future games we will see more factual Pokedex entries where it calls out and negates and makes it only true entries. Or like it could be like it was once believed that this, however, we have now like determined that Kadabra evolves from an Abra who looks like a small child. That's all it could be. We find an Abra laying in bed, wakes up one morning, it had evolved into a Kadabra somehow, and that's what people saw. They thought it was a child, it turned into a Kadabra. Not sure. What do you think? Do you think that we can take the Pokedex at face value, that it is facts the whole way through? Or do we take it with a grain of salt? Do we know that these are most likely hearsay and stories, and most of it isn't actually what we see happen with Pokemon? Let me know in the comments below what you think is going on with the Pokedex, and if there's maybe some more nefarious things going on with the professors and having you fill out the Pokedex. That's a theory for another day. I will definitely be going into that eventually because there's even more going on with the professors and the Pokedexes. But for now, I say Pokedexes are all full of lies and we can't trust anything that's written in them. Thanks. Like, subscribe if you can. We're happy to see you on our next video.